again, everybody. The John Tyler Lions now prepare for district play after finishing non-district with a 3-2 record. The Lions beat Tigres of Mexico 51-14 this past Thursday night at Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium, and Coach Ricklan Holmes is with us. So now you've got that first part of the season done, and I know you split it up kind of into 3 seasons, do you not?
No, most definitely. First season's over with, and we ended that 3-2, and now we move on to the second season where everybody starts at 0-0. So that's what we've been getting prepared for the first 5 games, the second season.
I know you wanted to be 5-0, but you played in that period of time all 5A foot, 3 5As, Lancaster, pretty darn good 4A team, and then Tigres Mexico. You happy where you are right now?
I'm happy with the improvement that I've seen. You know what I'm saying, from the first game all the way to the 5th game. There's still some things that we got to start being more conscious of that we do as a football team to make sure we take care of the second season, which is our district play.
I was at practice the Monday night after the loss to Mesquite Horn, and you were getting loud out there. Yeah. Did you get your message across?
I think I did. I think our kids responded well to, you know, what I put in front of their face and told them, hey, these are the things that we got to get done.
You were in their face, not just in front of their face. You were in their face.
To be successful, to be that team that's going to be able to, you know, move forward past district onto the 3rd season. There's a lot of stuff that they had to take care of, and I think going into the Tigres game, they understood that, and they took care of it.
What were some of the things that you really, what have you liked about this club so far?
Right now, just their overall demeanor as a football team, understanding that, hey, each guy has an assignment that they must take care of, and if they don't take care of that assignment, then the team won't, you know, be as successful as they need to be. And guys are understanding that. They're starting to practice that way so that they can play that way.
What have you not liked so far?
What I don't like about this team right now is, I'm not going to say I don't like it.
What can you most improve?
What concerns me about this team the most is just the passion for the game right now. I have a lot of athletes that can play football. But to play football, you don't just do what it takes to play football. You got to understand that, hey, this is why I'm doing it. This is something that I love to do. This is something I have a passion for. You know, I think, you know, with all of the athletic abilities that they do have, they overlook that passion part, that heart that you got to have to be successful in football.
But isn't John Tyler a little bit like one of those programs like on Odessa Permian or some of the old programs that have been, you know, they have so much tradition? The guys come up and they're a little bit indoctrinated with Cujo, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little bit of pressure on them to not break the chain.
Yeah.
When
and
they get there,
that's
right?
where that passion comes from. You got to understand that it's been done before you got here, and it'll be done after you leave. But during your time here, you got to make sure
you don't want to be the one that let it slide, right?
You can't be the one that lets it slide. You got to be the one that keeps it going in the direction that future generations can look forward to, and the past generations can say, hey, they're continuing to do what we started.
And all they have to do is, you got pictures all over that field house. I mean, I go in that field house. They're lined up all up and down the halls. There's a reason for that, right?
It is a reason for that, to remind you, hey, this is where it came from, this is where it got to continue to go, and this is where you got to try to get to. Yeah,
and of course your picture's up there, but I mean, just all those, there is an expectation that being a John Tyler Lion, there is an expectation there when you walk in the door, right?
Oh, and that expectation is great, and that expectation is wonderful, and I would never say that I would want to be at another high school, whether I was a player or a coach. You know, because I understand, you know, hey, I knew what the guys done in the early part of the John Tyler history. I also understand what we did during my time. But then at the same time, you got to tie all that in together, and you got to have these young men understand, hey, this is what we are. This is what we do. And we got to have a love, we got to have a passion, and we got to have that burning desire to keep it going.
All right, Tigres, you beat them 51-14. Tell me a little bit about the game. Were you happy with the way the guys played?
I'm happy with the overall outcome. Like I said, we improved in some areas that we had concerns of going into district. I think we got better at running the ball. I think that, you know, we continue to get better and better and better at throwing the ball. I think that's one of our assets right now, that we can throw the ball. We have skilled guys that can do it, and we have a quarterback that's able to do it. His composure is improving week in and week out, which, you know, that was the main concern, especially after the first game, you know. But now Gio understands that he has to be the quarterback of John Tyler High School. And with that comes a lot of expectations. But like I told him, it's not the expectation of the fans, it's the expectation of me and this team that he needs to worry about.
You've always, your teams, you had a pick six from Terry Osborne on Thursday night. Your teams, or John Tyler teams, have always been able to, even in years where you didn't necessarily have that shutdown defense, you still force mistakes, other teams into mistakes. Does this club have that characteristic to be able to make those big plays? They do have that characteristic.
They are becoming a turnover machine. You know, like I told them guys, you know, and Coach Anderson, he stresses to them week in and week out, you can't be that defense that breaks. Yeah, you may bend, but you never break.
Right.
And you know, we for most part this year, that's what we've been doing. We get to that point to where, you know, they moving the ball, and all of a sudden, bam, we cause a fumble. We get an interception. We make a big play. We get a 3 and out. We know we spark the offense, you know, and that's what the defense is about. The defense is about stopping the opponent, getting our offensive ball back as quickly as possible, and causing as many turnovers as we can. And if we do that with the offense that we do have, I look for a very successful season.
The game has changed so much with all these spread offenses. The way you look at a defense doing its job is different now than it was 10 years ago, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, because everything is hurry up and it's spread out, and, you know, it's athlete against athlete now. So.
I mean, but the days of the Chicago Bears 46 shutdown defense, we're not in that cycle right now.
Oh,
really,
it's tough to get right there right now. You know, I always think back to the Dangerfield team that scored what? They had like 16 points scored on them all year long.
And one of them was, I think, the other team's defense scored the touchdown.
Yeah.
Their defense gave up not much all year.
Not much all year long. You know, those years of that is, you know, the way everything is geared now, and it does not just high school, it's college and it's NFL. It's geared around the offensive excitement, which is
run as many plays as you can, as fast as you can.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about. Get as many as you can and score as much as you can.
Does that stuff start at the high school level and work its way up to the pros, or start at the pros and work its way down?
It starts at the pros and works its way down. You know, a lot of the stuff that colleges are doing, a lot of the NFL coaches had started, and then a lot of stuff that the high schools are doing, college teams had started it. And now, like I say, it's just trickling down.
All right, but you know, some of the stuff starts at the high school level, though, doesn't it? I mean, there's a lot of innovations that started in, you know, with kids playing high school football.
It is, and that comes with more of the schemes that, you know, some of these coaches have come up with, different formations, and just trying to add on to what other teams had started. All
right, let's roll the tape. A lot of highlights from the Tigres game. Again, the Lions win 51-14. The game is at Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium. It was on a Thursday night against a team from Nuevo León, Mexico. And here you are. You're on defense here, right?
Yes.
Nice play there. Who's that?
Nice play coming off the edge was Jasavier Reese.
I interviewed Jasavier last week. He's a cool young guy.
And he's actually become an even cooler football player. You know, he has all the tools and to do what we need done, you know, with his height and his speed and his long arms.
Big shoes to fill, too. He's taking Tyus Bowser's spot, right?
Yes, he is. And as you can see, Tyus is taking it on to the next level, and he's making the same plays in college that he made in high school.
I watched Tyus a little bit of the Houston UTSA game on Saturday. They singled him out.
They did. They double teamed. They tried to take him out the game, but, you know, all good athletes you can't take out the game.
All right, here's Gio on a scramble.
This right here just shows how strong Gio is. You know, hey, the guy had him in the backfield, had him wrapped up, but, you know, him being 6'2", you know, 200 plus, you got to do more than just wrap up to one leg. You got to get both of them together and get him down.
And you got to remind people, he was at one time a ninth grade linebacker.
He was,
right?
He was. And I think some of that toughness carried over to him at quarterback.
And by the way, he's still good enough. He could probably still play linebacker,
He probably could.
But you're not going to let that happen, are you?
You won't see him play it this year.
But, and here's the end zone shot of that same play, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Talk about the value you get out of this end zone shot, because I would think this is maybe the best teaching tool you have.
It is, especially for your linemen. You get to see their technique flaws, and you get to see what they're doing real good, and understand that, hey, this is how we need to get to this gap, this is how we need to block this scheme.
Pass rush there.
And that's Braylon Jones on that sack there. Sophomore is starting to become into his own little player right now, and that's because he works hard. He does everything that needs to be done, and as a coach, he's a coachable kid.
Now he's playing on the outside, or is he on the inside?
He's on the inside.
There he is, okay. defensive tackle. Not a real big kid, just real quick, right?
He's big enough.
Big enough?
He's about 6'3", 275.
Oh, is he really? Okay. All right. See, I'm thinking I'm missing on that one. Okay, here's an easy score. Who is that?
That's
Reggie?
Reggie.
All right.
You know, Reggie runs so smooth, and that's why he's so fast. He has a turnover in his run like a true sprinter. And if you get the ball to him to the edge, 9 times out of 10, you know, this is what's going to happen.
Is everybody recruiting Reggie?
Yes, he's getting recruited. He's one of the highly recruited guys on our team, along with Terry Osborne and just Xavier Reese and Andrew Clark. You know, those guys right there, they're getting a lot of interest from a lot of different schools, and Amy also now.
And there's a nice throw to
that was Nick Kane.
Right?
No, that was Duntavia and Gross right
Okay.
there. Another sophomore that is, you know, he's showing to us, improving to us every day why he should be on varsity.
Yeah.
You know. You know, I tell people all the time, you know.
His nickname's Dun Dun too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Dun Dun. I tell people all the time about, you know, sophomores and juniors, you know. There is no guarantee that just because you're not a freshman anymore that you're going to be on varsity. It's going to be something that you're going to have to do to separate yourself from the rest of the group. And Duntavian has done that from day one during the spring and even going into tour days. And now, as you can see in the 5th game, he's showing that, hey, I can make plays on Friday nights.
Mm-hmm. All right, now you're closing in on the end zone here. This is
to Duntavian again, and this time he finds his way to the end zone.
My son played with him at Hubbard, and all I ever knew was Dun Dun.
Dun Dun.
When you called his real full name, I didn't know who you were talking about.
But you know, last year I used to hear everybody say Dun Dun all the time,
right.
because he kicked the ball off, he played receiver, he played defensive back. You know, he pretty much played everything, and I just never knew who the kid was until we finally started off season and he started working out. And I heard somebody say, "Hey, Dun Dun, come here." And I looked over and I was like, "Who y'all talking to?" And they pointed him out. I was like, "Son, what's your real name?"
All right, the jet sweep. Who's got it here?
This is the Nick Kane. And Nick is another gutsy, gritty kid, and he's an underclassman. And he's one of them guys where, you know, we're starting to look at for a leadership role. You know, every team needs a guy that's going to step up and say, hey, this is what we need to do, guys. Let's go. He's not a very vocal kid, but he works hard and, you know, he does what you tell him to do, and he's very coachable.
Nice move, nice cut back there, too.
And this just shows what can happen when you keep your feet going.
Here's Gio on the zone read. That's a nice play right there.
Yep, straight up the middle, show you speed and get to the end zone.
What's he looking for? What are his keys there? This is the zone read. What's he looking for?
Well, he's either reading the inside tackle or he's reading the outside end. And if they crash, he pulls it. If they don't, then he gives it. I mean, if they crash, he gives it. If they don't, then he pulls it. And with that read right there, that's what we seen.
Mm-hmm. And again, that's easier said than done, too.
Easier said than done. It happens real fast.
That time he gives it.
And once Reggie makes one cut, he's always working upfield. That's what I like about him. He's not what we call a jitterbug.
Mm-mm.
You know, he doesn't sit up there and dance in the hole. He finds a crease and he plants that foot and he goes just like that.
He explodes through it too, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And he can catch a pass as well as he can run it.
And he's just a valuable asset out of the receiver position as he is in the backfield carrying the ball.
Here's his view of it.
That's a good job sustaining the block by Polito. You know, just giving him just enough to get through there and find his way to the end zone. High snap, something that we've been working on from jump because it throws off our whole timing. You know, we throw, you know, it's a certain time that Gio need to get the ball and he need to get it out to Quaylen so that he can make things happen. And if you have a high snap, it throws that off. Just so happen, you know, hey, we were athletic enough for him to catch the ball. And
now this young man's a sophomore too.
He's another sophomore.
Yeah. It's DeQuaylen Brown, right?
DeQuaylen Brown.
Yeah.
And if he ever stop trying to juke everybody and just run, you'll see how really fast he is, just like there. And this is Nick Kane at quarterback late in the game. I put him in so he can get him a couple of reps in there.
There was so much traffic there. Did he make the right read on this play? I mean, I know he got the touchdown. Did he do what he was supposed to do?
Yeah, he done what he was supposed to do.
All right.
That was just very well played by the defense. It's
Okay.
just,
All right.
now your athlete got to be better than their athlete. That's what it boils down to.
I was just wondering if it would have been better if, because they had it, looked like they had it well played. They just didn't make the play. Nick's so fast. But I was just wondering if he made the right read there, or just so athletically gifted that he was able to outrun them, everybody, or both.
It was both, a little bit of both.
Yeah,
A good read and just a good athlete making the play.
Yeah. Well, you've got some of those guys now. You were 5 games into the season, and I guess it would bode well at this point because to talk a little bit about before we talk about the individual games that you played. How do you treat? It's not an off week. It's a bye week. Bye week.
Yeah, bye week.
Before district play begins at home against Corsicana on the 11th of October. But how do you treat this week? What do you do?
Basically what you do is now you slow everything down and now you focus in on segments of what you do, like the individual period, the inside, the 7-on-7 and the team. And now we'll break it up into days instead of putting everything all in one day.
Right.
Like on Monday, we'll come in and we'll only practice during the period. I give them the afternoon off, and Tuesday we'll come back and we'll have an afternoon. We have a period practice, but we'll have a short afternoon practice, somewhere around 45 minutes to an hour on Tuesday. Now you increase a little bit more on Wednesday. You increase a little bit more on Thursday. You cut back to where you probably started at on Monday, and then on Friday you just have a practice during the period, and you give them Friday off and let them have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off to get their legs back up under them. And you also treat it as a time for bumps and bruises to heal. It's never off. We still got to practice. We still got to learn what we need to do to get better. But you just cut back on it and you focus in on individual areas one day at a time.
You can kind of go back to square one and reteach some of this stuff, right?
You really can. And you use that to slow down. It's a good time for coaches to key in on things that, hey, we really didn't have time to work on this during that week because it was a short week, or because we had to hurry and get ready for Lee or Horn or Lancaster or Lufkin. So now you had that week to slow down, put everything in perspective and get to work.
Bumps and bruises, is that still, knock on wood,
We're
really
still
the only
healthy.
thing?
We're still healthy. We had a couple of guys that was out the last game. Jeremy Wilson, he had an ailment with his asthma. And then Kadarius Henderson, he had a concussion that he sustained in practice, which going through his progress as far as the treatment, the evaluation that they do, he should be clear by Wednesday of this week.
Okay, so that's a good thing. Let's go back and just kind of review the non-district part of the schedule and kind of look back on what you've done so far. That first game against Lufkin was a disappointment. You knew they were going to be tough, but there were so many mistakes made in that game. First game mistakes, snapping problems and different things like that. Just talk about, the first game of the year, which turned out to be, you got off to a pretty good start, but didn't end well for you.
Oh, most definitely. We started out fast and we started out just like I wanted them to do. But the deal that concerned me about that game is we didn't end the way that we started. And that's something that we corrected going into the Lancaster game.
Yeah.
And progressively got better going into the league game. And then the Mesquite Horn game, I think, we got to the point to where, as a team, I really thought the kids started kind of feeling comfortable about what they was doing. And that passion that I talked about, it wasn't there again. That eager, that desire to continue to get better.
I did the Lancaster game and the league game, and what do you remember most that you got done in the Lancaster game besides winning against a good team, a team that beat you last year and went to the state championship game in one of the 4A classifications? What did you do well that night?
Main thing about that one was just heart, overcoming adversity.
Yeah.
Things didn't go well in that game, but at the same time, by them not going well, we responded well to those and we overcame them, and eventually we ended up winning the football game.
Now, the Robert E. Lee game was interesting this year because Lee was 2-0 and you were 1-1, and there were going into that game, you could have made a case that Lee would have been the favorite in that game if there was such a thing in high school football, people picking winners and losers. But you did so much right that night. What did you do well that night? Obviously, Lee,
Pretty much
the turnovers, but you took advantage of their mistakes too. You still got to do that.
That game was a game that I showed the team, and I told them, hey, this is how we need to play all the time.
Yeah.
This is the mistake-free John Tyler football team that we practice Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to be like. Now you know what you can do. Continue to do it. And, going after that game, I start feeling like, hey, these kids are starting to understand exactly what we want them to do as a football team. And actually coming out of the Lancaster game, leading up into that game, I seen what I wanted to see out of them. They responded well to adversity. They kept fighting. They was more disciplined. We had fewer mistakes. And now you just got to, add on to that and keep building and keep improving.
That game beating Lee still means something too, doesn't it?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, it's a crosstown rival. Anytime you can beat the crosstown team and have bragging rights for a whole year, that's important to the kids and the community.
But again, it's one thing for them. You talk about, you didn't make mistakes. Lee made some mistakes that night. But any football game, there are going to be mistakes made by the other team. The key is taking advantage of them, and that's what you did well. One of the things you did well that night. They made the mistakes, and your guys jumped all over those.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, anytime you're going against a good football team and you make mistakes, they should capitalize on them. Just like in the Lufkin game. When we made mistakes, they're a good football team. What did they do? They capitalized on them. So, and it boils down to the overall concept of playing the football game. The team that makes the most plays and makes the fewest mistakes is the one that's going to win.
Now, the Horn game, you were not happy about the Horn game, were you?
No, most definitely. That was a game that, I felt like the football team didn't show up that day. I felt like, they got real complacent in what they done the previous week. And, we rectified that going into the practice after that week. And I think we had a pretty good showing against the Tigres team. We still had some couple of things that, we didn't do that I was unhappy with, but at the same time, I seen improvement from the loss that we had from Mesquite Horn.
When you work, this is the last year before realignment, do you foresee, obviously you're going to continue to play Lufkin, do you foresee continuing the Lancaster series? Or
I would like to keep that series going. I would like to also throw Longview in the loop, if we could. Hopefully, if they don't get thrown into a district with us, maybe we can start that back up.
Yeah, and then Tigres, do you see yourself playing those guys again?
I'm not going to say that we're going to play them again, but, if it comes down to it, we always know that we can extend our hand to them and they will accept.
Oh, I do want to. I was about to forget. We've got a few minutes left. The announcement came down last week. You will have a heck of an opportunity next year to play in
the Bayou.
The Bayou, what's it called?
It's called the Border Bowl.
Border Bowl.
Yes.
You're going to go to Shreveport to play. You don't know who yet.
It could be a school called John Curtis.
Okay, out of Louisiana.
That would be probably the main school that we would probably be playing in the Border Bowl.
Will that be in 0 week or week 2? What week will you play that?
It would probably be week 1.
Because
0 week would probably be the Classic in 2014.
All right. So you're going to play at Independence Stadium in Shreveport. Probably the first Friday or Saturday night. You don't know that yet either, do you?
No, that's because we haven't quite worked out the logistics of the contract yet. I think they kind of announced it prematurely because everything hadn't quite been earned out with Coach Casper and the people from Shreveport. But once they get all that earned out, then we'll figure out exactly what day it'll be on and what team we'll be playing.
But so either a Friday or Saturday night, probably that first Friday or Saturday night in September, you'll be playing one of those teams in that border battle at Independence Stadium where they play the Independence Bowl.
Yes.
And maybe John Curtis out of Louisiana, possibly, right?
Or Bird.
Or Bird, or Shreveport Bird. Just, I mean, they don't invite just anybody. Longview played in that this year.
Yeah.
Not just anybody gets invited to play in those kinds of games. You kind of have to have a little bit of a rep.
You got to have a little bit of rep about yourself. You got to be one of those teams that are very competitive. And you got to be another team that's going to bring a lot of fans. It's about revenue. You know that.
Right.
And our John Tyler fans travel very, very well, and I hope they continue to do that throughout the rest of the district.
So what does it mean? What kind of an honor is it to get a chance? What kind of an opportunity will it be to play in a game?
It's an opportunity to play in another state, to play against a different caliber of teams.
Yeah.
That those teams are well represented out of that area with Bird and John Curtis. So you get a real good competition just like you would with a 5A Lufkin or state semifinalist Lancaster.
Lancaster, yeah. A good horn team.
You know, a great horn team. You know, a really good lead team. You know, these 5A teams are very comparable to the type of teams that are played across the border.
All right, the district starts coming up on the 11th, and your first up is Corsicana. I saw their score. They played Sulphur Springs. Did you go to that game?
I did not go to that game.
No, you were dead? Okay.
No, I see enough of them on film.
It was like 77 to 60 something.
Yeah.
Sulphur Springs won the game. I thought I was looking at his basketball season started early or something like that.
No,
Sulphur Springs had scored in the 70s. Corsicana scored in the 60s. I guess that means Corsicana is going to throw the football, right?
Oh, they're going to throw the football, and they're actually pretty good at it. It's just that they had way too many turnovers in that game, as I could see on film with them. They're a very well-coached team. They're starting to come together as a team and starting to play and do all the things that they need to do. But once again, when you make mistakes, good teams are going to capitalize on them. And Sulphur Springs is still a pretty good football team.
Now, this is we're talking to Coach Piskey about Lee's sprint to the finish. They're in a 17 district with 6 district games. That gives you a little bit more leeway. But in your situation, you've got a 16 district with 5 district games.
That's it.
So that didn't leave much room for error there.
No, it don't leave much room for error. I mean, you got to start out fast, and you got to end even faster.
Yeah, so each one of those district games is gold, isn't it?
Every game is important from here on out. That's why everybody's back at 0-0.
What do you tell your players about, again, you've always divided it. I know Allen did the same before, way back in the day, and the other coaches, you kind of divide the season into thirds, don't you?
You do. You know, the first season is the preseason. You know, that's where everybody, hey, it's where you're trying to find yourself as a team. This is where you're trying to improve on different points of the game. So that you can get ready for the second season, which is the most important season of all.
Which is now district.
It determines whether you go to the third season.
Yeah.
And if you don't take care of business in the second season, then you don't even have to worry about third season.
And again, you played last year 5 non-district games, 5 district games, and 5 playoff games. Almost got that 6th.
Almost got that 6th game, you know.
Which would have been the big show.
Which would have been a good big show, and that's what we're working on. That's what we've been working on since day one. That's what we've been working on during the preseason, and that's what we're going to continue to work on during district.
And just a brief overview, your district looks like it's going to be pretty good this year.
It's going to be pretty salty. You know, you have a greatly improved Nacogdoches team that's playing.
They beat Lufkin.
They're playing lights out right now. And then you have a steady improving Jacksonville, Lindale, Corsicana is steady improving, and then you have, you know, one of the top 4A teams in the state of Texas, which is White House.
Yeah. And you know they're going to be good. So all of them are going to be fun. They all have their own little, you know, little sidebars to them, and each one of them should be a whole lot of fun this year.
They would. They're all going to be fun. They're all going to be exciting. And the good thing about us, we get to play 3 of them at home.
That's right. All right. So all that's, and by the way, that first home game in district is coming up on Friday, October 11th. Again, the Lions do not play this week, but the first district game is Friday, October 11th, Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium against the Corsicana Tigers. The Lions, of course, deserve and need your support during this district run, and that begins on October 11th. For Coach Holmes, I'm Bill Coates. Thanks for joining us.